Hey everybody, and welcome on back to episode number 2 of our How to Build a Castle in Vanilla Survival. Today we are going to be taking this guy one step further here from the blueprint we built up in the last episode. Be sure to check that one out first. We talk about a lot of inspiration and ways to make things look a lot more natural. If you haven't caught that one, go be sure to do that. Now, however, going into this guy, we are going to be taking this one step further. Like I mentioned, we're going to be adding some height to this. No longer we are going to have just a flat blueprint across the bottom of the world. We're actually going to work on going up. So I want to show you guys how to add some variation and all those different assets to the top of your castles, and hopefully this will help you guys along the way. Really quickly here, I want to go ahead and show you guys the castles that I have designed in my single player world. We've taken these base frame ideas and everything that we've been doing there and built off of that and added in all the detail, added in all the depth and the different styles and everything like that throughout the builds and created something really amazing here. We've went from these just base frames that I'm going to be showing you guys how to use today to something really quite incredible that I have just fallen in love with so much. Just from going these base shapes here, you can add so much depth, so much detail, and just pretty much anything you could ever want. But anyways, let's go ahead and jump into the build. To start out with this guy, I want to go ahead and start by making a small wireframe in here. We're going to look at making some boxes, just getting the general idea of what everything's going to be looking like in here. Yes, we are going to be using World Edit. Yes, this is still vanilla survival. Fight me. I don't care what y'all say. This is still vanilla. Everything in here is vanilla. All this stuff is just used to help speed up this a little bit here to make things move a little bit faster. Anyways, that out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at this guy here. What we're going to be doing here, like I mentioned, is we're going to be making some wireframe boxes. To get a general idea, we want to add some variation to the general heights. You can see we're bringing that one down, so it's a little bit lower than the other two areas. Right now, we're going to be focused on the general boxes themselves. We'll come back in later and work on the roofs, but I always like to have every single building that's next to each other having a tiny bit of height variation. So I typically go for about 2 to 3 blocks in a variety between all the different roofs. You can see in here where those two roofs come together, where the two buildings would come together. I actually went ahead and added another new tower into this guy that we didn't have previously. I felt like adding that extra little detail in here would help break up that roof. You can also do this through adding in chimneys, different types of things like that along the way. There's a lot of different ways that you can help kind of fix up that area. However, coming over into these area, you can see that this corner tower here, I want to make it a little bit taller so that we could have a better view from it. So that the idea is that these towers in the background, you're going to be able to see down into the city itself. We want to have a general sloping way where we have at the kind of the Grand Great Hall. That's going to be at the tallest area. Then everything else kind of comes down just a little bit here. You're going to see that we're going to start using a few things to help stack up the area to make it just run a little bit faster here using our World Edit again. Yeah, I know it's more World Edit. But you can see in here that I went ahead and started bringing a box around all this stuff just so we can have some extra ideas around here. Bringing in, again, that little bit of height variation for the towers themselves. Like I mentioned, for the big square buildings, I like to have about 3 to 5 blocks in variety. I would say for the towers themselves, depending on minus the big great tower that I typically go for, I typically go for about 5 to 7 or 5 to 9 blocks in variety between the heights of the towers, obviously working with the terrain as well, making sure that slope is coming up all the way to that top area so that we have a lot of things going on for us there. There's just so much variety that we can add into this, and I love making it look like things are getting taller as they go throughout. It definitely is worthwhile to have your builds kind of growing upwards. As you can see here, we're bringing in a few buildings, just adding in those extra little details in there, filling in these last spots, starting to bring up our walls, and just making this overall area look pretty cool. I love adding in that little wall section down there that we added. I figured could be something where soldiers could stand on top of. We don't want to have on top of every single one of these sections. We don't want to have an area where it's coming up to a pointed roof. We want to give a place for people to stand on top of the castle wall, stand on top of the castle, and fire down on whoever is attacking, or just be able to be on watch, being up somewhere where they have a better viewpoint, where they don't have to be standing behind a window. They can actually be out in the air, they can be out in the open, and be able to view and move around more easily, potentially giving you room to put down catapults as well, or whatever else you want to use to defend the castle. Maybe some cannons, all that good stuff. Anyways, you can see this last tower we added in there. It's just a little bit taller than the front. Really quickly here, I wanted to go ahead and take a little bit of a break from building things up here and just show you guys what it's looking like at this point. You can see that all of our towers are at varying heights, so that you just get a lot of points of interest. There's a lot of different things to be looking at throughout the build. We have the different shapes, we have the different heights, and you can see the whole area building up to that eventual point of the keep. And that's the atmosphere, that's the style that I would love to go for here. But I think we got to go ahead and get back to it. Now that we have the general area for the main part of the keep where the Great Hall would be, I wanted to go ahead and come over to this area that I was calling as like the barracks area, basically the side of the keep where maybe all the soldiers live, maybe the military general lives over here, whoever it would be. And I want to focus on this area starting out now. You can see that we're bringing this up to be a little bit shorter than the main part of the keep, so it looks like it's a little bit smaller, and we get that gradual slope kind of going from the right side of the castle here to the left. You're going to see in the end there's going to be a main slope of kind of everything getting larger and going more grand as it goes up, which I think is a really cool feeling going throughout it. I love the general look that we're going to go for here, and we're just going to get so much variety out of that. We really want to make sure that not everything is just flat topped across the castle itself. We want to make sure there's a lot of variety, like I was talking about, so we can have just additional things to work with here. These last guys over here on the side, we're going to make them a little bit taller because we want to have enough room for everybody to live inside. So moving forward with that, there's always some space where we can work with some variety that we can add. I feel like that's the number one word, variety and slope. That's all I'm really talking about here. But overall, you can see just the general ideas that we're going with. And this last room on the back here, we can go ahead and just start bringing it up a little bit. We want it a little bit shorter than those side ones, but that's because I wanted to go ahead and come in and bring the roof back in later and make it a little bit more interesting and bring a really sharp peaked up roof that we'll be touching at here soon, using all of our fancy world edit, jumping in and out of those areas to make it speed up, which, that one probably took longer. But overall, that's the general idea of what everything's going to be looking like in here. There's that raised area that I was talking about, just to give us, again, a little bit of variety as we're moving out throughout this area. Just there's multiple heights that people can stand on, multiple areas where you can break it up. If you have one big flat area for your courtyard, it's going to look a little dull and boring. That might be a little bit more historically accurate, so if that's what you're going for, go ahead and do that. Personally, I like my castle to be a little bit more on the fantasy side with an extra side of fries, so I try and go for all of those extra bibs and bobs that we can add in throughout to make it more interesting. Now for the fun part, the roofs. What are we going to do at the top here? We don't want to leave those all as just flat boxes. We want to make it look more interesting. You could go ahead and simply just use stairs and bring them up to a point in the middle. That would be totally fine. But I like to make things a little bit more sharp and a little bit more grand looking, just so it feels more full, more complete, and again adds extra height to the build, so it makes it look like this castle is towering over the city that we built up below. We make this castle look so grand based on everything else around it, so we just make it look huge and massive and just growing up to this crazy high point on here. You can see a little bit of variety that we're using on this guy. We're having some that are going to be going up, stepping up 2 blocks at a time. Some are going to be going up 1 block at a time. I would recommend, however, I will throw this in there, I would recommend using multiple colors for your roofs. Don't just use 1 block, add some variety, add some multiple tones in here. Maybe if you're using a terracotta like we are using here, maybe use the concrete color as well with it, so you can get a little bit of color variety. Maybe use the concrete powder mixed in there too, and everything that you could possibly add onto that guy, just getting in lots of bits of variety in there, just slight different color tones in there. You'll see in some of those castles that I build, we use a lot of red terracotta and then also red concrete to give some highlights to certain points of them, and then also the red terracotta makes it look a little bit duller. But anyways, we're using a lot of different styles of roofs for this guy here. You are going to see that I'm using full blocks for all this. I would totally recommend, if you want to use a wood type, bringing in some slabs and stairs and smoothing those overall shapes out. You can see we're modifying this roof here a little bit because we built that big old flat area there at the top so we could have a bunch of people stand outside, but we don't want to leave that as some big square structure. We really want to be able to come in here and just break things up and make sure that we don't have those big classic Minecraft squares that everybody did so often. I feel like this is the way that you can really improve the castle builds that you're doing. You can make it just look totally crazy and totally unique and interesting and just making it look a lot more natural. I know this isn't fully historically accurate, as a lot of people here told me about, but I think it looks a lot better for the Minecraft castle, for what I envision a Minecraft castle should look like, or how I think that I like to make them look like. You will notice that I'm using a lot of different techniques here for the roof designs. Some you'll see where the roof itself, the stone part on the outside, is coming up a block or so higher than the roof blocks themselves. I personally like doing that because it adds in a little bit of extra depth to it, and it allows you to turn that into like a stair or something and just add that extra little, just a little bit and bob up there that just makes it a lot more interesting. I don't really know how to describe it than that. It just gives a really cool feel to the builds themselves. And you can see ourselves coming up here with a lot of different designs for the tops of the towers as well. Multiple ones where we start the roof, then we stop it instantly, allow for a second floor to the tower, and then other ones where we just keep a classic circle, just kind of stepping its way up all the way to the top and bringing it up to a little bit of a point on top, making it look a little bit more like a wizard hat or something like that. However, some of these buildings, we don't want to go ahead and fill them in with a flat tower like I was talking about. Maybe sometimes we want to leave that flat top that somebody can stand on top of. So a lot of these ones that be around the gatehouse, for example, on this castle, I went ahead and left them as something that you could have open aired. You could have additional people working on them, just living in those general areas or standing out there watching. You can maybe build those catapults or the trebuchets or whatever you'd want, your cannons, all that cool stuff. Maybe leave a bunch of stuff up there for archers to use in times of war. They're ready to go. Everything's up there ready to go. So you can have all that extra detail on there. Then for these final guys over here, I wanted to go ahead and have kind of a grand finish off part to the castle. So we want to go ahead and bring in a few more towers onto this side, bringing that side up a little bit more. So we get a little bit of a curve to all of this. Instead of everything working up in one general direction of slope, it kind of makes more of an M shape a little bit. Not quite fully at the same heights, but you guys get the general idea. Taking one last look at our castle here before we move on to the outside city walls, you can really see here that all of the variation we added in, all of the roof height difference and just the general shapes and variety and everything, it really makes us feel grand and really looks like a castle, even though we have no details on it so far, which I think is really freaking awesome personally. So hopefully that helped you guys out there a bit. Now, moving on to this next part, as we're building up these simple walls throughout the place, just giving you guys a general idea of what's going on here, I want to go ahead and propose a contest. I would love to go ahead and have a contest involving this world here. There will be a world download down in the description below for you guys to grab this. And for the contest, I would like to give you guys till the end of January to go ahead and build up a castle within this area. You can completely tear down everything that I created here, or you can build off of it yourselves, but I would love to go ahead and see what ideas you all can come up with for what you have going on here for this world. Hopefully this inspired some of you guys as much as I think it has, because it seems like a lot of people have been enjoying this one. But I would love to go ahead and have you guys build up a vanilla castle. If you guys are interested in this, the only thing you need to do to submit is get a world download over to me. The easiest way to do that would be through the Discord channel, but if you guys prefer other ways to do it, you can send me a direct download link on Twitter. My direct messages are always open. You can slide into the DMs there and send those over to me. But I hope you guys enjoy this video here. If you guys are interested in the contest, let me know down in the description below, because I'd love to gauge on how many people are interested. There will be, after all of those submissions are in, there will be a video tour, checking out a bunch of them, checking out as many as we possibly can within a reasonable amount of time, taking a look at all of these different worlds. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this one. I really appreciate all the support you guys have given me over this whole castle series here as we've been building up this crazy stuff. Hopefully this has inspired you guys for it. I'm super pumped to see what you guys can all come up with for this contest here. That is super awesome. I know I'm talking about it a bunch here, but I think I'm just so hyped up for it. I've been wanting to find a way of doing a contest in here recently that would be something worthwhile, something that you guys would actually really enjoy being able to do and be a part of, and not something just kind of one-off. So thank you guys all so much for that. Please hit that like button if you did enjoy this video. Please hit that subscribe button if you are new, and I will catch you on the flip side.